Hello, my friend. Can we talk for a moment? Not the surface level, how are you doing kind of talk, but the real, raw, honest conversation that most people are too afraid to have. You know that feeling when you're lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, and a thought creeps into your mind, a whisper that says, "Is this really all there is?" You've built a life. You've checked boxes. You've done what you were supposed to do. But somewhere deep inside, there's this nagging voice asking, when did I stop investing in myself? Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. Every single day you make investments. You invest time in your job. You invest energy in other people's problems. You invest money in things you don't really need. But the one investment that would actually change everything, the one that would transform your entire existence, you keep putting it off. You tell yourself, maybe next month, when things calm down, after this project, when I have more money, when I have more time. But my friend, let me tell you something that took me years to understand. That perfect moment you're waiting for, it doesn't exist. It never did. It never will. Today, I want to share something with you. Not a book summary, not a life hack, not another motivational speech that fires you up for 10 minutes and then fades away. I want to share a concept that, if you truly embrace it, will fundamentally shift the trajectory of your life. It's about the most important investment you'll ever make. An investment that never crashes, never depreciates, never loses value. An investment in the one asset that will be with you from your first breath to your last, yourself. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, great. Another self-help thing telling me to love myself and drink green smoothies. But hold on, this isn't about bubble baths and affirmations. This is about something much more profound. This is about recognizing that you are walking around every single day as an underdeveloped, underutilized, underappreciated asset. Think about it this way. If someone handed you $1 million Ferrari, but you never changed the oil, never maintained it, never learned how to actually drive it properly, what would happen? That incredible machine would break down. It would rust. It would become worthless. That's exactly what most of us are doing with ourselves. We have this incredible mind capable of learning, creating, solving problems, building empires. But we feed it junk content, negative news, mindless scrolling, and endless distractions. We have this remarkable body designed to move, to feel, to experience life in full color. But we let it sit, decay, fill it with processed garbage, and wonder why we feel exhausted all the time. We have this powerful spirit yearning for growth, connection, purpose. But we suffocate it with routine, fear, playing small, and seeking everyone's approval, except our own. And then we wonder, why does life feel so empty? Let me share something personal with you. A few years ago, I met a man named David. Successful guy, at least on paper. Corner office, impressive title, 6-figure salary, the kind of life people write motivational posts about on LinkedIn. But when I really talked to him, when the corporate mask came off, I saw something completely different. David was exhausted, not just tired, depleted. He'd spent 15 years climbing a ladder, and when he finally got to the top, he realized it was leaning against the wrong wall. I never invested in myself, he told me one evening over coffee. I invested in my company's vision, my boss's expectations, my parents' dreams, my neighbor's approval. But me? The real me? I've been running on empty for so long I forgot what it feels like to be full. That conversation changed something in me, because I realized David wasn't unique. He was everywhere, in every office building, in every suburban neighborhood, in every mirror I looked into. We live in this bizarre culture where investing in yourself is often seen as selfish. People will respect you more for working 80 hours a week at a job you hate than for taking 1 hour a week to work on yourself. They'll praise you for sacrificing your health, your relationships, your dreams, all in the name of being responsible. But here's the question nobody asks. Responsible to who? If you destroy yourself building someone else's dream, who wins? If you neglect your health chasing money, then spend all that money trying to buy your health back. What was the point? If you're so busy making a living that you forget to make a life, what exactly are you living for? My friend, I need you to understand something crucial right now. This isn't just another self-improvement topic. This is about survival, about relevance, about becoming the person you're actually capable of being instead of settling for whoever you accidentally became. The world is changing fast, faster than ever. The job you have today might not exist in 5 years. The skills that made you valuable yesterday might be obsolete tomorrow. The comfort zone you're hiding in, it's not protecting you, it's imprisoning you. And in this rapidly evolving world, there's only one asset that will never become obsolete. A constantly evolving, constantly learning, constantly growing you. Think about the most successful people you know. Not just financially successful, truly successful. People who seem alive, energized, purposeful. What do they all have in common? They invest in themselves relentlessly. They read. They learn. They challenge themselves. They take care of their bodies. They guard their mental space. They surround themselves with people who elevate them. They say no to things that drain them. They say yes to things that grow them. It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's not some secret they were born knowing. It's a decision, a daily decision to prioritize their own growth over everyone else's comfort. Now, I want to address something important here. When I say invest in yourself, I'm not talking about being narcissistic or selfish. I'm not suggesting you ignore your responsibilities or abandon the people who depend on you. I'm talking about something much more strategic. Think of it like the safety instructions on an airplane. What do they always tell you? Put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out, you can't help anyone. You become another person who needs rescuing. The same principle applies to life. When you invest in yourself, when you become stronger, wiser, healthier, more capable, you don't just help yourself. You become more valuable to everyone around you. You become a better partner, better parent, better friend, better colleague, better leader. You can't pour from an empty cup. And my friend, so many of us are walking around with cups that have been empty for years. Sarah was one of those people. 32 years old, working in marketing for a tech company, good at her job, reliable, always said yes, always available, always putting everyone else first. Until one day, her body said no. She collapsed at work. Panic attack, they called it. But it wasn't just panic. It was her entire system screaming, "Enough!" When I talked to Sarah months later, after she'd taken time to recover and rebuild, she told me something I'll never forget. I thought I was being strong by ignoring my needs. Turns out I was just being stupid. Real strength isn't about how much you can endure. It's about knowing when to stop and refuel. She started small. 15 minutes of morning meditation, one workout per week, reading for 30 minutes before bed instead of scrolling. One evening per week completely offline, nothing dramatic, nothing Instagram-worthy, just small, consistent investments in herself. Within 6 months, everything changed. Her energy returned. Her creativity exploded. She got a promotion. Her relationships improved, not because she became perfect, but because she finally became present. That's what investing in yourself does. It doesn't turn you into some superhuman. It turns you back into a human, a functioning, thriving, alive human. But here's where most people get stuck. They know they should invest in themselves. They've heard it before. They've maybe even tried, but they don't do it because they're waiting for permission, waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to prioritize themselves. So let me be that person right now. My friend, you have permission. Permission to take care of yourself. Permission to say no to things that drain you. Permission to spend time developing your skills. Permission to guard your energy. Permission to choose yourself. You don't need to justify it. You don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to make yourself smaller so others feel bigger. This is your life, your one shot, your unique journey. And the most valuable thing you can do with it is become the fullest, most developed version of yourself possible. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds great, but I don't have time. I'm too busy. I have responsibilities. Maybe when things slow down. Let me ask you something. When was the last time things slowed down? Time is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. We act like we don't have enough time, but then we spend 3 hours binge-watching shows we don't even like. We say we're too busy to read, but we scroll social media for 90 minutes a day. We claim we can't afford a gym membership, but we spend $40 a week on coffee we barely taste. It's not about time. It's about priority. And I'm not judging. I've been there. We all have. But at some point, you have to get honest with yourself. Every time you choose something else over yourself, you're making a statement about your own worth. You're saying, this thing is more important than my growth. This person's opinion matters more than my development. This distraction deserves more attention than my potential. Is that really the message you want to send yourself? Marcus worked in finance, brutal hours, high pressure. Everyone around him was burning out, but the money was good, so people stayed. Marcus stayed too, for 7 years. Then one day, he ran into an old college friend named James. They'd graduated together. Similar grades, similar opportunities, but their lives had gone in completely different directions. Marcus was making $180,000 a year, but was miserable, unhealthy, disconnected from his family, taking medication for anxiety. James was making less, maybe $90,000, but he looked alive, energized, present. "What's your secret?" Marcus asked. James laughed. "No secret, man. I just decided that no amount of money was worth losing myself. So I built my life around growth instead of around money. I read every day. I exercise 4 times a week. I take courses. I say no to opportunities that drain me. I invest in myself first, and somehow everything else falls into place. That conversation haunted Marcus because he realized he'd spent 7 years making a company rich while making himself poor in every other way. 6 months later, Marcus quit, not recklessly, not in anger, but strategically. He'd spent those 6 months investing in himself, learning new skills, building connections, clarifying what he actually wanted. Today, he runs his own consulting firm, makes about the same money, but works half the hours. And more importantly, he actually recognizes himself when he looks in the mirror. That's what this is really about, my friend. Recognition. Do you recognize yourself anymore? Or have you become someone you don't even like, living a life you never chose, on a path someone else laid out for you? The beautiful thing is, it's never too late. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or 45 or 65. It doesn't matter how far off track you've gone. It doesn't matter how many years you've wasted. Today can be different. Right now can be the turning point. But only if you make a decision, not a wish, not a hope, not a maybe someday. A decision. A real, committed, non-negotiable decision that from this moment forward, you will treat yourself like the valuable asset you are. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. Life doesn't give you what you deserve. Life gives you what you negotiate. And if you're negotiating from a place of depletion, from a place of emptiness, from a place of I'm not worth investing in, then you're going to get exactly that back. But when you start investing in yourself, when you start showing up for yourself, when you start treating yourself like someone worth developing, protecting, and nurturing, everything shifts. Opportunities appear, energy returns, relationships improve, ideas flow, confidence grows. Not because the world changed, because you changed. And when you change, your entire reality reshapes itself around that new version of you. So let me ask you directly, what would your life look like 1 year from now if you actually invested in yourself every single day? What if you spent just 1 hour daily on your growth? Reading, learning a new skill, working out, meditating, creating something, building something, developing something. That's 365 hours in 1 year. Do you know what you could do with 365 focused hours? You could become fluent in a new language, master a professional skill, write a book, build an online business, transform your body, rewire your entire mindset. But most people will spend those 365 hours scrolling, complaining, consuming, and wondering why their life never changes. Which person will you be? The choice, my friend, is entirely yours. And that choice, it starts right now, not tomorrow, not Monday, not after the holidays or after you finish this project or after things calm down. Right now. Because the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be something else demanding your attention. There will always be someone else wanting your energy. There will always be an excuse. But there will also always be you, waiting, hoping, deserving better. So here's what I want you to do. After you finish reading this, not because I'm telling you to, but because deep down you know it's true. I want you to look in the mirror. Really look, not at your reflection, but into your eyes. And I want you to say something out loud. I am my greatest investment. And starting today, I choose me. Say it. Mean it. Feel it. Because once you truly believe that, everything else becomes possible. In the coming chapters, we're going to explore exactly how to invest in yourself. Not theory, not fluff. Practical, actionable strategies for upgrading your mind, protecting your energy, mastering your time, building your network, and becoming someone you're genuinely proud to be. But first, you had to understand why this matters more than anything else, why your growth isn't selfish, it's essential, why investing in yourself isn't just another self-help concept. It's literally the foundation of everything meaningful you'll ever build. You are your greatest asset. The only question is, will you treat yourself like one? Chapter 1. Time is your real currency. All right, my friend, let's talk about something that everyone has but almost nobody values properly. Time. You know what's fascinating? If someone walked up to you right now and offered you a briefcase with $50,000 cash, you'd protect that briefcase with your life. You'd think carefully about how to invest it. You'd research. You'd plan. You'd make sure every dollar counted. But what about your time? The 168 hours you get every single week? Do you protect those with the same intensity? Do you invest them with the same care? Probably not. Most people don't. And that's the real tragedy, because money can be earned again. You can always make another dollar, but time, once it's gone forever. You'll never get this day back, never get this hour back, never get this moment back, yet we throw it away like it's infinite. Let me tell you about someone I met named Rachel, 38 years old, marketing director at a mid-sized company. Smart. Woman, ambitious, always busy, always stressed, always running out of time. One day, I asked her a simple question. Rachel, if you had to put a price on 1 hour of your time, what would it be? She thought for a moment. I don't know. Maybe $100? That's about what I make per hour at work. Okay, I said. So if someone offered you $100 to spend an hour doing something you hate, something that adds no value to your life, would you take it? Of course not, she laughed. That would be stupid. Really? Then why do you spend 3 hours every evening scrolling through social media, watching people you don't know live lives you don't care about? If you wouldn't sell 1 hour for $100, why are you giving away 3 hours for absolutely nothing? The look on her face told me everything. She'd never thought about it that way. Most of us haven't. We act like our time is worthless, and then we wonder why we feel worthless. Here's the brutal reality. You are trading your life for whatever you spend your time on. Every single minute you give to something is a minute of your life you'll never get back. That's not motivational speaker talk. That's just math. So the question becomes, what are you buying with your life? Are you buying growth, knowledge, health, relationships, experiences, skills, peace of mind? Or are you buying distraction, numbing, avoidance, other people's highlight reels, drama, worry about things you can't control? Because whether you realize it or not, you're making that purchase every single day. Let me tell you something that changed my entire perspective on time. I was talking to an older gentleman named Robert. He was 73, retired, spent his career as an architect, successful by any measure. We were sitting on a park bench watching people rush by, and he said something I'll never forget. You know what the biggest lie is? That we have all the time in the world. When you're 20, you think you have forever. When you're 30, you're too busy to notice time passing. When you're 40, you start feeling it slip. When you're 50, you panic. When you're 60, you bargain. And when you're 70, you just wish someone had told you earlier that time is the only wealth that actually matters. He paused, watching a young guy walk by, glued to his phone, completely disconnected from the world around him. That kid right there, Robert continued, he probably has 40 or 50 years ahead of him. You know what he's doing with them? Absolutely nothing, just killing time. But time isn't something you kill. Time is something that kills you. And every moment he wastes is a moment he'll never get to live. That conversation hit me hard because Robert was right. We don't lose time. We waste it. We trade it for things that don't matter. And then one day we wake up and realize we've been spending our most valuable currency on the cheapest garbage available. So let's get practical here. Let's talk about how to actually invest your time instead of just spending it. First, you need to understand something fundamental. Being busy is not the same as being productive. In fact, being constantly busy is often just a sophisticated form of laziness. Wait, what? Think about it. It's easy to stay busy, answer emails, attend meetings, put out fires, react to whatever's urgent, check your phone, refresh your inbox, stay in motion, but that's not progress. That's just activity. Real productivity, real investment of time requires something most people avoid: intentionality. Focus, saying no to 95% of things so you can say yes to the 5% that actually matters. I know a guy named Thomas, runs a successful software company. But here's what's interesting. He only works about 30 hours a week. Not because he's lazy, because he's strategic. Thomas has one rule. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Meeting requests? No. Unless it's critical. New opportunities? No. Unless they align with his core goals. Social obligations? No. Unless they genuinely add value to his life. Random phone calls? No. Email first. Networking events? No. He builds relationships intentionally, one-on-one. People think he's arrogant, but he's not. He's just clear about what his time is worth. And because he protects his time so fiercely, he has time for what actually matters. Deep work, strategic thinking, creating value, spending time with his kids, working out, reading, building skills. While everyone else is busy being busy, Thomas is busy becoming better. That's the difference. Most people have a calendar full of other people's priorities. Thomas has a calendar full of his own. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's great for him, but I can't just say no to everything. I have responsibilities. I have a boss. I have obligations. Fair enough. But let me ask you this. How many of those obligations did you actually choose? How many of them are truly non-negotiable? And how many are just habits you've fallen into? Because it's easier than having difficult conversations. Because here's the thing. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your growth, you're saying no to something that would. Every time you agree to a meaningless meeting, you're saying no to learning a new skill. Every time you scroll for an hour, you're saying no to reading, creating, or building something meaningful. Every time you say yes to someone else's agenda, you're saying no to your own. And after years of those small decisions, you wake up and realize you've built a life that looks nothing like what you actually wanted. Let me share something personal with you. About 5 years ago, I was exhausted, constantly tired, always behind, never enough time, working 12-hour days but feeling like I accomplished nothing. So I did something radical. I tracked my time for 2 weeks, every single hour, what I was doing, who I was with, what I was working on. You know what I found? Out of those 336 hours across 2 weeks, I spent 47 hours actually doing meaningful work, 38 hours in meetings, most of which were pointless, 52 hours on email and messages, 28 hours commuting, 84 hours sleeping, 31 hours on social media, and random internet browsing, 56 hours on everything else, eating, errands, etc. You see the problem? Only 47 hours out of 336 were actually spent on high-value work. That's 14%. I was spending 86% of my time on activities that didn't move my life forward in any meaningful way. That was my wake-up call. I started making changes, small at first, then bigger ones. I cut my meetings in half. Most of them were just status updates that could have been an email. I batched all my email time into 2 30-minute blocks per day instead of constantly checking. I deleted social media apps from my phone. If I wanted to check them, I had to use my computer, which created just enough friction to break the addiction. I moved closer to work, cutting my commute from 90 minutes to 20. I started saying no to 90% of requests that came my way. You know what happened? I got more done in less time than ever before. I had energy again. I had space to think. I could invest time in learning, in health, in relationships, in actually building something meaningful instead of just maintaining the status quo. But here's the key. I didn't find more time. I just stopped wasting the time I already had. There's this myth that successful people have some secret time management system, some perfect planner or app or morning routine that magically creates extra hours in the day. That's not true. Successful people don't have more time than you. They just waste less of it. They understand that time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. You can't save it. You can't store it. You can only spend it. And every moment spent is a moment gone forever. So the question isn't, how do I find more time? The question is, what am I going to stop doing? Because addition through subtraction is the real secret. You don't need to add more to your life. You need to remove what's draining it. Let me give you a framework I use. It's simple but powerful. Every activity in your life falls into one of 4 categories. 1. High value, high energy. These are the things that matter and give you energy. Building skills, deep work, creative projects, meaningful conversations, exercise, learning. These are your gold mines. Maximize these. 2. High value, low energy. These are important but draining. Difficult conversations, admin work, taxes, planning. You can't eliminate these, but you can batch them, outsource them, or minimize them. 3. Low value, high energy. These are the dangerous ones. Social media, gossip, drama, Netflix binges. They feel good in the moment, but add nothing to your life. These are your time thieves. Cut them ruthlessly. 4. Low value, low energy. These are both pointless and exhausting. Toxic relationships, meaningless obligations, soul-crushing routines. Eliminate these completely. No exceptions. Your goal? Spend at least 60% of your time in Category 1. The more time you spend there, the more your life compounds in value. Most people spend 60% of their time in Category 3, and then they wonder why they feel empty. Here's another truth bomb. You can't manage time. Time manages itself. It keeps moving whether you like it or not. What you can manage is your attention, your focus, your energy. And in today's world, attention is under constant attack. Every app, every platform, every notification is engineered to steal your focus and sell it to the highest bidder. Your attention is literally being bought and sold, and most of the time, you're giving it away for free. Think about that. The most valuable thing you own, your conscious awareness, your mental energy, your capacity to focus on what matters, is being given away to companies whose entire business model is keeping you distracted, anxious, and coming back for more. That's not an accident. That's the design. So protecting your time means protecting your attention. And that means being militant about what gets access to your mind. Jennifer learned this the hard way. She was a graphic designer, talented, creative, but struggling to grow her freelance business. We sat down one day and I asked her how much time she spent actually designing versus how much time she spent on everything else. She said, probably 50-50. So we tracked it for 1 week. Turns out she was spending less than 10 hours per week actually designing. The rest was consumed by endlessly scrolling Pinterest and Instagram for inspiration, checking emails every 15 minutes, responding to potential clients who were never going to hire her, watching tutorials on techniques she already knew, organizing her files, again, wondering why she wasn't making more money. She was busy. She felt productive, but she wasn't actually doing the one thing that would grow her business, creating great work and showing it to the right people. We made one change, one simple rule: no internet access until she completed 3 hours of focused design work each day. That's it. Within 3 months, her income doubled. Not because she worked more hours, because she actually invested her time instead of just spending it. That's the power of focus. That's the power of treating your time like the precious finite resource it actually is. Now, let me address something important. I'm not saying you should become some efficiency robot who never relaxes or has fun. That's not life. That's just a different kind of prison. Rest is productive. Play is productive. Doing nothing is sometimes the most productive thing you can do. But there's a difference between intentional rest and mindless escape. There's a difference between play that rejuvenates you and distraction that numbs you. When you spend Sunday afternoon reading a book, going for a hike, or hanging out with friends, that's investing in your well-being. That's valuable. When you spend Sunday afternoon scrolling through your ex's vacation photos, watching reality TV you don't even enjoy, and feeling vaguely anxious about Monday, that's not rest. That's just wasted time. The difference? Intention, consciousness, choice. Real rest leaves you feeling recharged. Fake rest leaves you feeling drained. So here's my challenge to you, my friend. For the next 7 days, I want you to track your time, not obsessively, just honestly. Every evening, spend 5 minutes writing down how you spent your day. Then at the end of the week, ask yourself 3 questions. If this week represented my entire life, would I be proud of it? What did I spend time on that actually moved my life forward? What did I waste time on that I'll never get back? Be honest, brutally honest, because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Most people won't do this exercise. It's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the gap between who you think you are and how you actually spend your time. But the people who do it, they're the ones who start making real changes. Because once you see where your time is actually going, you can't unsee it. And that awareness is the first step toward transformation. Remember Marcus from the last chapter? The finance guy who was making $180,000 but was miserable? Here's what he told me about his breakthrough moment. I realized I was spending 60 hours a week making my company rich and 0 hours making myself better. I was trading my life for money, and it wasn't even that much money. When I actually calculated my hourly rate based on the hours I worked, I was making less than I thought. But more importantly, I was making 0 progress on becoming the person I wanted to be. That math didn't work. So he changed the equation. He didn't quit immediately. He was smart about it. But he started investing 1 hour every day in himself. Reading about business, learning new skills, making connections, planning his exit strategy. Within 6 months, he had options. Within a year, he had his own business, not because he found more time, because he stopped wasting the time he had. Your time is your life, every minute of it, and you're either investing it in becoming more or spending it on becoming less. There's no in between. Time doesn't pause. You're either growing or dying, moving forward or falling behind, investing in your future or mortgaging it for temporary comfort. Which one sounds like you right now? Because here's the final truth about time. You can't save it for later. You can't stockpile it. You can't earn extra hours by working hard today. All you can do is spend it wisely, right now, in this moment, because this moment is all you ever really have. So I'll ask you again, what are you buying with your life? And more importantly, is it worth the price? Chapter 2. Upgrade your mind daily. Okay, my friend, let's talk about the most powerful tool you'll ever own. Your mind. Not your phone, not your computer, not some fancy AI or app or gadget, your actual brain. The 3-pound universe sitting inside your skull that processes 70,000 thoughts per day, stores a lifetime of memories, and has the capacity to solve problems that don't even exist yet. Here's the crazy part. Most people spend more time maintaining their car than maintaining their mind. Think about that for a second. You change your oil every 5,000 miles. You rotate your tires, you get inspections, you wash it, wax it, protect it from rust. You do all of this because you understand that maintenance matters. Neglect your car and it breaks down. But your mind, the operating system running your entire life, the thing that determines every decision you make, every opportunity you see, every relationship you build, we just let it run on autopilot. Same thoughts, same beliefs, same fears, same limitations, year after year after year. And then we wonder why our life looks exactly the same. Here's what nobody tells you. Your mind is either growing or shrinking. There's no neutral. Every single day, you're either expanding your thinking or reinforcing your limitations. You're either learning new patterns or deepening old ones. And the scariest part? Most people are running mental software that was installed when they were children. Beliefs their parents gave them, fears their teachers reinforced, limitations society programmed into them before they were old enough to question any of it. Let me tell you about a woman I know named Nicole. She's 41 now, works as an HR manager for a tech startup. Good job, decent salary, stable life. But 15 years ago, Nicole had a completely different dream. She wanted to be a writer, had ideas for novels swimming around in her head, stories that kept her up at night, characters that felt more real than some of the people she knew. But there was this voice in her mind, a recording that played on repeat. Writing isn't a real career. Artists starve. You need to be practical, get a real job, be responsible. That voice wasn't even hers. It was her father's. He meant well. He was protecting her, or so he thought. But that one belief, installed when she was 19, determined the next 22 years of her life. She never wrote the books. She got the real job. She was responsible. She was practical. And she was miserable. When I met Nicole, she was at a coffee shop staring at her laptop, not actually working on the spreadsheet in front of her. We started talking, and eventually she told me about those dreams she'd buried. "Do you still want to write?" I asked. "It's too late now," she said automatically. "I'm 41, I don't have time, I don't have the energy, and honestly, I'm probably not even good enough." "Says who?" She paused. "Says, I don't know. Everyone, society, reality, or, I suggested, says a recording in your mind that was installed by someone who is protecting you from a world that doesn't even exist anymore." That hit her hard, because she realized she'd never actually questioned that belief. She just accepted it as truth and built her entire life around it. Here's the thing about your mind. It's not some fixed, permanent thing. It's more like a garden, and whatever you plant in it will grow. Plant seeds of limitation. You'll harvest a life of missed opportunities. Plant seeds of fear. You'll harvest anxiety and paralysis. Plant seeds of doubt. You'll harvest mediocrity and regret. But plant seeds of possibility, of curiosity, of growth. You'll harvest a completely different life. The problem is, most people don't even realize they're gardening. They just let whatever blows in from the wind take root. Negative news, toxic opinions, other people's fears, social media comparison, cultural conditioning, and then they look at their life and wonder why it feels like a mess. Your mind is not neutral territory. It's a battlefield. And every single day there's a war happening for your attention, your beliefs, your mental real estate. On one side, you have forces trying to uplift you. Great books, inspiring people, challenging ideas, growth opportunities, difficult questions, honest reflection. On the other side, you have forces trying to drag you down. Mindless content, toxic people, comfortable lies, easy distractions, victimhood narratives, comparison traps. Which side is winning in your life right now? Because I promise you, one of them is. Let me share something that transformed my entire approach to mental growth. About 8 years ago, I was stuck, plateaued, Felt like I knew what I knew, and that was it. I'd read some books in college, absorbed some ideas from random places, and basically just recycled the same thoughts over and over. Then I met a man named Dr. Alan Peterson, retired professor, 72 years old, still reading 3 books a week, still taking online courses, still challenging his own beliefs, still growing. I asked him, "Alan, why do you still learn so much? You're already successful. You're already knowledgeable. What's the point?" He smiled. "Because the day you stop growing is the day you start dying. Not physically, mentally. And mental death is far worse because you don't even know it's happening. You just wake up one day and realize you've become irrelevant, out of touch, and disconnected from a world that kept evolving while you stayed the same." That scared me because I realized I knew people like that. People who stopped learning at 30 and spent the next 30 years just repeating themselves. Same opinions, same stories, same complaints, frozen in time mentally while the world moved on without them. I didn't want to become that person. So I made a commitment. 30 minutes of active learning every single day. Not passive scrolling, not watching random videos. Active, intentional learning. Reading books that challenge me. Taking courses on topics I know nothing about. Listening to podcasts with people smarter than me. Watching documentaries that expand my worldview. Having conversations with people who think differently than I do. And here's what I discovered. Your mind is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But if you let it atrophy, if you just feed it junk content and never challenge it with new ideas, it weakens. It becomes rigid. It loses its ability to adapt, to create, to solve problems. Most people stop learning the day they finish school. They think education is something that happens in classrooms with teachers and grades and certificates. But real education, that's a lifelong process. That's a daily choice. That's understanding that you're never done growing because the world is never done changing. Let me tell you about someone who embodied this principle. A guy named Kevin. He was a taxi driver in Boston for 23 years. Not the most glamorous job, right? Most people would look at Kevin and assume he was just stuck in a dead-end career. But Kevin was different. Every single day during his lunch break, he'd sit in his cab and read philosophy, history, psychology, economics, science, whatever interested him for 23 years. He never told anyone, never made a big deal about it, just quietly invested 30 to 45 minutes every day in expanding his mind. Then something interesting happened. One of his regular passengers was a tech entrepreneur named Lisa. They'd have fascinating conversations during their rides. Kevin would share insights from what he was reading. Lisa was blown away by how much he knew, how deeply he thought, how uniquely he saw the world. One day, Lisa offered him a job, not as a driver, as a consultant for her company. Kevin's job? To help her team think differently, to challenge assumptions, to bring perspectives they'd never considered. Today, Kevin makes more in a month than he used to make in a year. Not because he got lucky, because he invested in his mind every single day for 2 decades, and eventually, that investment paid dividends he never could have predicted. That's the power of mental compound interest. But here's where most people mess this up. They treat learning like consuming. They read a book, watch a video, listen to a podcast, and think, okay, done. I learned that. But learning isn't about consumption. It's about transformation. Real learning changes how you think. It challenges your assumptions. It makes you uncomfortable. It forces you to question things you thought were true. It rewires your mental operating system. If you're reading books, but your life isn't changing, you're not learning. You're just collecting information. There's a huge difference. Information is knowing that tomatoes are fruit. Knowledge is knowing not to put them in a fruit salad. Wisdom is understanding that life is complicated and rigid categories often get in the way of truth. Most people stop at information. They collect facts, stats, quotes. They can tell you what they learned, but they can't show you how it changed them. The people who actually grow, they don't just consume content. They wrestle with it. They apply it. They let it disturb them. They allow new ideas to destroy old beliefs. That's uncomfortable. That's why most people avoid it. It's easier to just stay in your mental comfort zone, surrounded by ideas that confirm what you already believe. People who think exactly like you do. Content that never challenges your worldview. But that's not growth. That's just an echo chamber. And echo chambers make you weaker, not stronger. Sarah, different Sarah from earlier, learned this lesson during the pandemic. She was 34, working remotely, and found herself with extra time that she used to spend commuting. Most of her co-workers used that time for Netflix binges and doom scrolling. Sarah decided to use it differently. She started taking online courses, not random courses, strategic ones. She identified the 3 biggest gaps in her skill set and committed to filling them: public speaking, data analysis, and negotiation. 6 months later, she was a different person, more confident, more capable, more valuable. When her company had to make cuts, Sarah was not only safe, she got promoted. Why? Because while everyone else was just trying to survive, she was actively growing. While others were complaining about circumstances, she was investing in herself. That's the difference between people who thrive and people who barely survive. It's not luck. It's not privilege. It's mental investment. Now, let me address something crucial. Upgrading your mind doesn't mean you need to become some intellectual robot who just consumes information all day. It means becoming conscious of what you're feeding your mind. Every piece of content you consume is either making you better or making you worse. There's no neutral. Every conversation you have is either expanding your thinking or reinforcing your limitations. Every person you spend time with is either elevating you or dragging you down. You are the average of the inputs you expose yourself to. So if you're spending 3 hours a day watching reality TV drama, scrolling through toxic social media, and listening to people complain about how unfair life is, don't be surprised when your mind produces drama, toxicity, and victim mentality. But if you're spending time with great books, challenging ideas, inspiring people, and difficult questions, your mind will start producing creativity, solutions, possibilities, and growth. It's not magic. It's just basic mental nutrition. You wouldn't eat garbage for every meal and expect your body to be healthy. So why would you feed your mind garbage and expect your thoughts to be healthy? Here's a simple framework I use to filter what enters my mind. The 3 questions. Does this make me smarter? Does it teach me something useful? Challenge me to think differently? Expand my understanding? Does this make me stronger? Does it inspire me to take action, build confidence, develop resilience? Does this make me better? Does it align with who I want to become? Reinforce positive values? Move me toward my goals? If the answer to all three is no, I don't consume it. Period. That means I miss out on a lot of stuff. Viral drama, celebrity gossip, most news, random entertainment, mindless content. But I don't care, because I'm not trying to be informed about everything. I'm trying to be transformed by the right things. Big difference. Michael, a software engineer in Seattle, used to pride himself on being well-informed. He'd spend 2 hours every morning reading news from multiple sources: politics, economics, international affairs, tech industry updates. He felt smart, connected, in the know. But one day, his girlfriend asked him a simple question. Has any of that information actually improved your life? Or has it just made you more anxious and overwhelmed? He realized she was right. All that staying informed wasn't making him smarter or more capable. It was just filling his mind with problems he couldn't solve and situations he couldn't control. So he made a radical change. He cut his news consumption to 15 minutes per day, just enough to know what's happening, not enough to drown in it. He redirected those 2 hours into learning things that actually mattered for his life: advanced programming techniques, business strategy, communication skills, philosophy. Within a year, he'd launched his own successful app, something he'd been too busy to do before. Not because he suddenly had more time, because his mind finally had space to create instead of just constantly react. That's what mental upgrading really means. It's not about consuming more. It's about consuming better. It's about being intentional with what you allow into your mind. Because here's the truth. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can absolutely control what you think about, what you focus on, what meaning you assign to events, what stories you tell yourself. Your circumstances don't determine your life. Your interpretation of your circumstances does. 2. People can experience the exact same situation and walk away with completely different lessons. One sees failure, the other sees feedback. One sees obstacles, the other sees opportunities. One sees endings, the other sees beginnings. What's the difference? Mental software, the operating system they're running. And that operating system, you get to update it every single day. So here's my challenge to you. Starting tomorrow, invest 30 minutes in upgrading your mind. Not mindless scrolling, not passive consumption. Active learning. Read something that challenges you. Listen to someone smarter than you. Take a course on something you know nothing about. Have a conversation with someone who thinks differently than you do. Watch a documentary that expands your worldview. Do this every day for 30 days. Just 30 minutes. That's 15 hours of mental investment. Most people won't do it. They'll say they're too busy, too tired, not interested. They'll keep feeding their mind the same junk food and wondering why they feel mentally empty. But you're different. You're reading this right now, which means you already know that growth matters. You already understand that investing in yourself is the only investment that truly compounds. So take the challenge. 30 days, 30 minutes per day, active mental upgrading, and watch what happens. Watch how your thinking shifts, how your confidence grows, how opportunities start appearing that you never noticed before, not because the world changed, because your mind did. And when your mind changes, everything changes. Remember Nicole, the woman who wanted to be a writer but believed it was too late? About 6 months after our coffee shop conversation, I ran into her again. She looked different, more alive, more present. I started writing, she told me, just 30 minutes every morning before work. Nothing fancy, just showing up and putting words on paper. And you know what? It turns out I'm actually pretty good. I've already finished one novel, and I'm halfway through another. Are you published? I asked. Not yet. But that's not even the point. The point is, I feel like myself again. Like I'm finally living instead of just existing. Changing that one belief that it was too late changed everything. That's the power of upgrading your mind. It doesn't just change what you know. It changes who you are. And when who you are changes, what you do changes. And when what you do changes, what you have changes. It all starts in your mind. So the question is, what mental software are you running? And is it taking you where you want to go? If not, my friend, it's time for an upgrade. Chapter 3. Protect and improve your health. All right, my friend, time for some real talk. You can have all the money in the world, all the success, all the achievements, the dream job, the perfect relationship, the Instagram-worthy life. But if your body breaks down, none of it matters. Zero. Nothing. It all becomes meaningless. And yet, health is the thing we sacrifice first and regret losing last. Isn't that insane? We destroy the one vehicle we have to experience everything life offers, and then we spend the rest of our lives trying to buy it back. Let me tell you about a guy named Brandon. Brilliant entrepreneur. Built a startup in San Francisco from nothing to a $50 million valuation in 4 years. Featured in magazines, speaking at conferences, living the dream. At 37 years old, he had a heart attack. Not a mild one. The kind where the doctors tell you that you're lucky to be alive. The kind that makes you realize you've been playing Russian roulette with your body for years, and you finally lost. I visited him in the hospital. He was connected to machines, monitors beeping, looking 15 years older than he did a month prior. You know what's funny? He said. Not funny, ha-ha. Funny tragic. I spent 4 years building a company worth $50 million. But I'd give every penny of it right now to have my health back, to feel normal, to not be terrified every time my chest tightens. He paused, staring at the ceiling. They tell you health is wealth when you're young, and you nod and ignore it because you feel invincible. But now, I get it. Health isn't wealth. Health is everything. Without it, wealth is just numbers on a screen you're too sick to enjoy. Brandon survived, but he's not the same person. He sold his company, completely restructured his life. Now he works reasonable hours, exercises every day, sleeps 8 hours, eats real food, and actually shows up for his life instead of just racing through it. I was so focused on building the life I wanted, he told me months later, that I destroyed the body I needed to enjoy it. How many of us are making that same mistake right now? We work jobs that stress us out, eating fast food at our desk because we're too busy for a real meal. We stay up late scrolling through garbage content because we're too wired to sleep. We skip workouts because we're too tired, not realizing that exercise would give us energy. We ignore warning signs from our body because we have too much to do. And then one day, our body sends a bill for all those years of neglect. And it's not a bill you can negotiate or make payments on. It's due immediately, and the interest is brutal. Here's what nobody wants to hear. Your body is keeping score every late night, every skipped workout, every stress-filled day where you didn't give yourself time to recover. Every meal where you chose convenience over nutrition. Every month where you prioritized everything except your own well-being. It's all being recorded, and eventually the invoice arrives. But here's the good news. Your body is also incredibly forgiving. It wants to heal. It wants to be strong. It wants to support you. You just have to give it the basic resources it needs. And no, I'm not talking about some extreme transformation. You don't need to become a bodybuilder or run marathons or eat nothing but kale smoothies. I'm talking about basic, fundamental care. The kind of care you'd give a plant if you wanted it to thrive instead of just survive. Water, sunlight, nutrients, rest, movement, attention. That's it. That's the formula. But somehow, we've convinced ourselves that taking care of our body is this complicated, expensive, time-consuming thing that only fitness influencers and health nuts can manage. That's a lie, and it's a dangerous one. Taking care of your body is simple. Not easy, but simple. Let me tell you about Emma. She's 43. Works in finance in Chicago, mother of 2 kids. The definition of busy, always stressed, always exhausted, always feeling like she's drowning. For years, her health routine was basically none. She'd grab coffee and maybe a muffin for breakfast, work through lunch, or grab something from the vending machine. Come home exhausted, order takeout, or heat up something frozen, collapse on the couch, scroll her phone for an hour, pass out, wake up tired, repeat. She wasn't obese or obviously unhealthy, just depleted, running on fumes, headaches twice a week, digestive issues, skin breaking out, mood swings, brain fog, that constant feeling of being off without knowing why. One day, her daughter asked her a simple question. "Mom, why are you always tired?" That hit Emma hard, because she realized she couldn't remember the last time she felt energized, alive, present. She was just surviving, not living. So she made the smallest change imaginable, so small it seemed almost pointless. She started drinking water. That's it. Just water. 8 glasses a day. Nothing else changed. Within 2 weeks, her headaches disappeared. Her skin cleared up. Her energy improved slightly. Nothing dramatic, but noticeable. That tiny win motivated her to make another small change. 10 minutes of walking every morning before work. Just 10 minutes around the block. Nothing intense, just movement. After a month, she noticed she was sleeping better, thinking more clearly, feeling slightly less stressed. So she added another small change. 1 real meal per day. Not perfect, not Instagram-worthy, just 1 actual meal with vegetables and protein instead of processed junk. 6 months later, Emma was a different person. Not because she did anything extreme, because she stacked small, sustainable changes that actually stuck. She'd lost 20 pounds without trying. Her energy was completely different. Her mood stabilized. Her productivity at work doubled because her brain actually worked properly. Her relationship with her kids improved because she was finally present instead of just physically there. All from 3 simple changes: drinking water, moving her body, eating 1 real meal per day. That's the thing about health. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's not about doing everything right. It's about doing a few things right, repeatedly, until they become automatic. But here's where most people mess up. They try to change everything at once. They wake up January 1st and decide, I'm going to work out every day, eat perfectly, meditate, journal, drink a gallon of water, sleep 8 hours, cut out alcohol, sugar, carbs, and negativity. How long does that last? A week? Maybe 2 if they're really motivated. And then they crash, feel like failures, and go back to doing nothing, convinced that they just don't have the discipline or willpower to be healthy. But that's not true. You're not undisciplined. You're just using the wrong strategy. Real change doesn't happen through massive overhauls. It happens through tiny, boring, unglamorous improvements that compound over time. Let me share something personal. About 7 years ago, I was in rough shape. Not terrible, but definitely not good. Overweight, low energy, sleeping poorly, stressed constantly. I knew I needed to change. I'd tried the extreme approach before. Join a gym, go hard for 3 weeks, burn out, quit. Repeat cycle every few months. So this time, I tried something different. I picked one thing, just one. I decided to do 10 push-ups every morning. That's it. 10 push-ups? Takes less than a minute. Some days I felt strong and did more. Most days I did exactly 10. Some days they were ugly, barely count as push-ups. Didn't matter. The rule was 10 push-ups before coffee. After 30 days, it was automatic. I didn't think about it. I just did it. So I added a second thing, a 5-minute walk after lunch. Just 5 minutes. Around the parking lot, around the block, didn't matter where, just movement. After 60 days, both habits were locked in. So I added a third, 1 green vegetable with dinner. Any vegetable. Prepared anyway. Just 1. You see where this is going? By the end of the year, I had built 12 small health habits, each one tiny, each one sustainable, each one building on the previous ones. And the cumulative effect? I'd lost 35 pounds without dieting. I had more energy than I'd had in a decade. I was sleeping better, thinking clearer, feeling stronger, and looking better than I did in my 20s. Not because I did anything dramatic, because I did small things consistently. That's the secret. Nobody wants to hear because it's not sexy. It doesn't make for a good transformation post. There's no before and after that looks impressive after 30 days. But after a year, after 2 years, after 5 years, the compound interest on those tiny habits is absolutely transformative. Here's what I want you to understand. Your body isn't your enemy. It's not working against you. It's not broken or defective. It's just responding to how you treat it. If you treat it like garbage, it performs like garbage. If you treat it like a high-performance machine that needs quality fuel, proper maintenance, and adequate rest, it performs accordingly. This isn't complicated, but it requires honesty. You have to stop lying to yourself about why you can't take care of your body. I don't have time to exercise. You have time. You just spend it on other things. You have time to scroll for 45 minutes before bed. You could use 15 of those minutes to move your body. Healthy food is too expensive. Rice, beans, eggs, vegetables, chicken. These are some of the cheapest foods available. You're not too poor to eat healthy. You're too lazy to cook. I'm just too tired to work out. You're tired because you don't work out. Exercise gives you energy. Sitting on the couch scrolling your phone drains it. I have bad genetics. Maybe. But genetics load the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger. Even if you have challenges, there's still massive room for improvement. I'm not being harsh to be mean. I'm being harsh because excuses are killing you slowly, quietly, but definitely. And the tragedy is, you don't need some massive intervention. You just need to start today, right now, with one small thing. Let me tell you about Daniel, 51 years old, accountant in Denver, hasn't worked out in 20 years, significantly overweight, pre-diabetic. Doctor told him he needed to make changes or face serious health consequences. Daniel didn't join a gym, didn't hire a trainer, didn't start some extreme diet. He just committed to one thing, walking for 20 minutes after dinner, every single night, no exceptions. Rain? He walked. Tired? He walked. Don't feel like it? He walked anyway. First month was hard, really hard. He was out of breath. His knees hurt. He felt ridiculous being the fat guy waddling around the neighborhood. But he didn't quit. And slowly, it got easier. After 3 months, 20 minutes felt easy. So he increased to 30. After 6 months, he added light weights twice a week. After a year, he'd lost 47 pounds. His pre-diabetes reversed, and he felt 20 years younger. All from one simple decision: walk after dinner. That's the power of starting small and staying consistent. Now, let's talk about something most people ignore: mental health. Physical health matters, but mental and emotional health, that's the foundation everything else sits on. You can have a perfect body, but if your mind is constantly anxious, stressed, depressed, overwhelmed, you're not healthy. You're just fit on the outside and falling apart on the inside. Real health is holistic. It's body, mind, and spirit working together. And in today's world, our mental health is under constant attack. Information overload, comparison culture, political division, economic stress, social media anxiety, 24/7 news cycles designed to keep you afraid and engaged. Your mind wasn't designed for this. None of us were. We're running hardware built for small tribes and survival threats, trying to process a world of infinite information and artificial stimulation. No wonder everyone's exhausted and anxious. So protecting your mental health isn't optional. It's essential. And it starts with the same principle as physical health. Small, consistent practices. Maybe it's 5 minutes of meditation each morning. Maybe it's journaling for 10 minutes before bed. Maybe it's 1 day per week completely offline. Maybe it's saying no to obligations that drain you. Maybe it's setting boundaries with toxic people. Whatever it is, it requires intention, because the default path leads to burnout. Christina learned this the hard way. She was a marketing director in Austin, Texas, rising star, crushing it at work, but crushing herself in the process. She was always on, always available, always responding to emails and messages, always saying yes to more projects, more responsibilities, more pressure, until her body forced her to stop. Not a heart attack like Brandon, but a complete mental breakdown. panic attack so severe she couldn't leave her apartment for weeks. When she finally recovered enough to function, she had to completely restructure her life. She learned to say no. She set strict boundaries around work hours. She deleted work email from her phone. She started therapy. She took up yoga. She learned that self-care wasn't selfish. It was survival. "I thought taking care of myself was weak," she told me. "I thought real professionals just powered through." But powering through without recovery isn't strength. It's stupidity. And I almost destroyed myself proving how tough I was. Today, Christina works fewer hours, makes slightly less money, but is infinitely healthier and happier. Because she finally understands that health isn't something you sacrifice for success. Health is the foundation that makes success sustainable. So here's what I want you to do, my friend. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when things calm down. Today, pick one thing, just one small change you can make to your health. Something so small that you can't fail. Drink one extra glass of water, walk for 5 minutes, go to bed 15 minutes earlier, eat one vegetable, do 5 push-ups. Take 3 deep breaths when you feel stressed. One thing. Make it so small it feels almost pointless. Then do it tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Don't think about the long-term transformation. Don't worry about losing 50 pounds or running a marathon. Just focus on that one small thing. Because that one small thing, done consistently, will change your identity. You'll become someone who takes care of themselves. Someone who keeps commitments to themselves. Someone who values their health. And from that new identity, more changes become possible. Your body is the only place you have to live. You can't upgrade it. You can't trade it in for a new model. You can't buy a replacement when it breaks down. This is it. This is your one vehicle for experiencing everything life offers. So the question is, are you maintaining it, or are you running it into the ground? Because I promise you, my friend, nothing else matters if your health fails. All your dreams, all your goals, all your ambitions become irrelevant when you're too sick or tired or broken to pursue them. Invest in your health now, today, right now, because the best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. And the worst time is after your body sends you a bill you can't pay. Chapter 4. Your network is your net worth. Okay, my friend, let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. The truth about success. Here it is. No one makes it alone. Ever. Not one single person. Every successful person you admire. Every breakthrough you've heard about. Every overnight success story. Behind all of them are other people. Mentors who believed in them. Friends who supported them. Connections who opened doors. Communities that lifted them up. Success isn't a solo sport. It's a team game. And the quality of your team determines the trajectory of your life. Now, before you think I'm about to give you some sleazy networking advice about using people or collecting business cards at events, let me be clear. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much deeper. I'm talking about the fact that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That your thinking is shaped by the conversations you have. That your opportunities are limited or expanded by the circles you move in. You can have all the talent in the world, all the skills, all the ambition. But if you're surrounded by people who think small, play it safe, and pull you down every time you try to grow. You're fighting an uphill battle you'll probably lose. Let me tell you about two friends. We'll call them Jake and Tyler. They graduated from the same college in Portland, same year, same major, similar grades. Both smart guys, both ambitious, both wanted to make it. 5 years later, their lives looked completely different. Jake was working at a decent corporate job, making around $65,000 a year. Not bad, but not what he'd dreamed about. He was comfortable, but stuck. Every time he talked about starting a business or taking a risk, his friends would shoot it down. Be realistic, man. Don't throw away a stable job. Remember what happened to Mike when he tried that? His social circle was all people in similar situations. Good jobs, decent money, but no one really going anywhere. They get together on weekends, drink beer, complain about their bosses, talk about what they'd do someday, and then go back to the same routines on Monday. Tyler, on the other hand, was making close to $200,000 running his own digital marketing agency. But the money wasn't even the biggest difference. Tyler was energized, growing, constantly learning, surrounded by people who challenged him to think bigger. Here's what was different. After college, Tyler made a conscious decision about who he spent time with. He sought out people who were already where he wanted to be. He joined entrepreneur groups. He attended startup events. He reached out to people he admired and offered to help them for free just to learn. Some people called him a social climber. Some thought he was being fake. But Tyler understood something fundamental. You can't grow in an environment designed to keep you small. When I asked him about it, he said something I'll never forget. I love my old college friends, but they're all content being comfortable. And I realized I had a choice. Be loyal to people who are going nowhere, or be loyal to the person I'm trying to become. I chose the future version of myself. That sounds harsh, right? Maybe even selfish. But here's the reality. The people you surround yourself with will either elevate your thinking or reinforce your limitations. They'll either inspire you to become more or make you feel guilty for wanting more. And you have to choose. I'm not saying you abandon everyone who isn't successful. I'm not saying you only hang out with rich people or entrepreneurs or whoever fits your definition of impressive. I'm saying you need to be conscious about who gets access to your energy, your time, your mental space, because those things are limited, and you're spending them whether you realize it or not. Think about the 5 people you interact with most, not just in person, through texts, calls, social media, whatever. The 5 people who have the most access to your attention. Now ask yourself, do they inspire you or drain you? Do they challenge your thinking or reinforce your excuses? Do they celebrate your growth or resent it? Do they push you to be better or pull you back to stay the same? Are they building something or just complaining about their situation? Be honest. Really honest. Because your network isn't just your net worth in a financial sense. Your network determines your worldview, your opportunities, your standards, your thinking, your energy levels, your belief in what's possible. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Now, let's talk about how to actually build a network that serves you instead of drains you. First, understand this. Networking isn't about collecting contacts. It's about building genuine relationships with people who add value to your life and whose lives you can add value to. It's not transactional. It's transformational. The best connections aren't formed at networking events where everyone's handing out business cards and making elevator pitches. The best connections are formed through authentic conversations, mutual respect, and genuine curiosity about other people. Let me tell you about a woman named Melissa. She worked as a graphic designer in Miami. Talented, but struggling to break out of the low-paying client trap. She was constantly working with people who wanted premium work for bargain prices. One day, she decided to try something different. Instead of just taking whatever clients came her way, she made a list of 10 people she admired in her industry. People who were already successful, working with major brands, charging premium rates. Then she reached out to them, not with a pitch, not asking for a job or clients, just genuine appreciation and curiosity. Hey, I've been following your work for a while. Your approach to brand identity is really unique. I'm curious, what's one thing you wish you'd known earlier in your career? Simple, genuine, no agenda except learning. Most didn't respond, but 3 did. And one of those 3, a designer named Marcus, ended up having a 30-minute phone call with Melissa. He shared his journey, his mistakes, what worked, what didn't. Melissa listened, asked good questions, took notes. At the end of the call, she thanked him and asked if she could stay in touch occasionally for advice. Marcus said yes. Over the next 6 months, Melissa would check in every few weeks. She'd share what she was working on, ask for feedback, update Marcus on her progress. She'd also send him articles she thought he'd find interesting, congratulate him on his wins, offer help when he mentioned challenges. She wasn't being manipulative. She genuinely valued the relationship. But she also understood something important. Relationships require investment. You can't just take. You have to give. Eventually, Marcus had a project come up that he couldn't handle alone. He thought of Melissa, brought her in as a collaborator. That project paid more than Melissa had made in the previous 6 months combined. But more importantly, it opened doors. Through Marcus, she met other high-level designers and brand managers. Her network expanded exponentially. Her standards for the work she accepted changed completely. Within 2 years, she'd tripled her income and was working with clients she used to only dream about. All because she invested in building one genuine relationship. That's the power of strategic networking, not schmoozing, not using people, just authentic connection with intention. But here's where most people screw this up. They only reach out when they need something. They ignore you for months or years, and then suddenly they're in your inbox asking for favors, job referrals, introductions, advice. And they wonder why people don't respond. Real networking is about building relationships before you need them. It's about giving value before asking for value. It's about being genuinely interested in other people's success, not just your own. Gary, a software developer in Seattle, understood this perfectly. When he was trying to transition from employee to entrepreneur, he knew he needed mentorship. But he also knew that successful people are busy and get asked for advice constantly. So instead of asking, "Can I pick your brain over coffee?" which is basically asking someone to work for free, Gary did something different. He identified 3 people he wanted to learn from. Then he studied their work, their businesses, their content. He looked for ways he could actually help them. One guy had a podcast but terrible show notes. Gary spent a weekend creating detailed professional show notes for his last 5 episodes and sent them over with a simple message. Hey, love your podcast. Notice the show notes could be better. Made these for you. No charge, no strings. Just wanted to contribute. Another mentor he targeted had written a book but wasn't getting much traction on social media. Gary created a series of, quote, graphics from the book and sent them over. These are yours to use however you want. Loved the book and thought these might help spread your message. Within a month, all 3 mentors knew who Gary was. Not because he asked for anything, because he gave first. And when he eventually did reach out asking if he could learn from them, they all said yes, because he'd already demonstrated value. He'd already shown he wasn't just another person looking to take. That's the difference between networking and networking. Most people are networking, trying to collect contacts like Pokemon cards. But the people who actually build valuable relationships, they're networking. They're creating a net of genuine connections that catches opportunities, provides support, and creates possibilities that wouldn't exist otherwise. Now, let's address something important. What about toxic people? Because the flip side of building a strong network is protecting yourself from people who drain your energy, waste your time, or actively hold you back. And let me be clear, this isn't about being elitist or thinking you're better than anyone. It's about recognizing that your energy is finite and precious, and some people are black holes that consume it without ever giving anything back. You know who I'm talking about. The chronic complainers who never actually want solutions. The drama magnets who turn everything into chaos. The jealous friends who celebrate your failures and resent your successes. The energy vampires who leave you feeling exhausted after every interaction. These people aren't bad, but they're bad for you. And if you want to grow, you need to create distance. I know this is uncomfortable, especially if these people are family, old friends, or people you have history with. But here's the truth. Loyalty to toxic people is disloyalty to yourself. You can love someone from a distance. You can wish them well without giving them access to your daily energy. You can be kind without being available. Sarah, another Sarah, because apparently it's a popular name, learned this lesson painfully. She had a best friend from high school, Jenny, who she'd been close with for 15 years. But over time, Sarah noticed a pattern. Every time something good happened in Sarah's life, a promotion, a new relationship, a personal achievement, Jenny would find a way to diminish it. Not obviously, just subtle digs, backhanded compliments. Oh, that's nice, but followed by a story about why it wasn't actually that great. For years, Sarah made excuses. That's just how Jenny is. She doesn't mean it that way. We've been friends forever. But the truth was, every conversation with Jenny left Sarah feeling worse about herself, doubting her decisions, second-guessing her wins, feeling guilty for being happy. Finally, after a particularly brutal conversation where Jenny spent an hour listing all the reasons Sarah's new job was actually a bad move, Sarah had enough. She didn't have a big confrontation. She just created space, stopped initiating contact, took days to respond to messages, declined invitations, slowly, quietly, intentionally distanced herself. It felt terrible at first. Guilt, sadness, questioning whether she was being a bad friend. But within a few months, Sarah felt lighter, more confident, more able to pursue her goals without that constant background voice telling her why she shouldn't. That's the thing about toxic relationships. You don't realize how much weight they're adding until you finally put them down. So here's what I want you to do. Make 2 lists. List 1, energy givers, people who inspire you, challenge you, support your growth, make you feel more capable, leave you energized after interactions. List 2, energy takers, people who drain you, complain constantly, never take action, resent your success, leave you exhausted after interactions. Be honest. Write them down. Now here's the action step. Spend more time with list 1, way more time. Invest in those relationships, deepen them, prioritize them, and spend less time with list 2. Maybe not 0. Some of these might be family or coworkers you can't completely avoid, but drastically reduce your exposure. Set boundaries, protect your energy. This isn't mean. It's necessary. You're not responsible for fixing everyone. You're not obligated to accept toxicity just because you have history with someone. You're allowed to choose who gets access to your life. Let me share one more story about a guy named David, yes, another David, who took this principle to the extreme. David was 39, working a job he hated, living in a city he didn't like, hanging out with people who were all stuck in similar situations. He was successful enough to be comfortable, but miserable enough to know something had to change. So he made a radical decision. He quit his job, left his city, and moved across the country to Austin, Texas. Alone, starting from a 0. His friends and family thought he was crazy. You're throwing away everything you've built. You don't know anyone there. What if it doesn't work out? But David understood something they didn't. Sometimes you can't become who you need to be in the same environment that created who you currently are. In Austin, he didn't have his old social circle holding him back. He didn't have the weight of everyone's expectations and judgments. He was free to reinvent himself. He joined co-working spaces, attended entrepreneur meetups, connected with people who were building businesses, taking risks, living intentionally, people who were playing a completely different game than his old friends. Within a year, David had launched his own consulting business. Within 2 years, he was making triple what he made at his old corporate job. Within 3 years, he'd built a life he actually loved, surrounded by people who elevated him instead of diminished him. Could he have done that in his old city with his old friends? Maybe, but it would have been infinitely harder because environment matters, and the people in your environment are the most powerful environmental factor. So here's the bottom line, my friend. Your network will either expand your possibilities or limit them. It will either reinforce your potential or reinforce your limitations. It will either help you become more or keep you stuck as you are. And the choice of who you surround yourself with, that's entirely yours. Yes, it might mean some uncomfortable conversations. Yes, it might mean creating distance from people you care about. Yes, it might mean stepping out of your comfort zone and connecting with people who intimidate you. But the alternative? Staying surrounded by people who keep you small, safe, and stuck. Is that really the life you want? I didn't think so. So today, right now, make a commitment. You will be intentional about your network. You will invest in relationships that make you better. You will protect yourself from people who make you less. You will surround yourself with people who are building the kind of life you want to build. Because your network isn't just some professional concept. Your network is the invisible force shaping every aspect of your life. Your thinking, your opportunities, your standards, your growth. And if you want to invest in yourself, you have to invest in the people around you. Because in the end, we don't rise alone. We rise together. The question is, who are you rising with? Chapter 5. Discipline over motivation. All right, my friend, we need to talk about the biggest lie in the self-improvement world. The lie that keeps people stuck. The lie that sounds inspiring but actually destroys more dreams than it creates. Here it is. You just need to stay motivated. Wrong, completely wrong. Motivation is garbage. It's unreliable. It's temporary. It's the emotional equivalent of a sugar rush. Feels amazing for 20 minutes, then crashes hard, leaving you worse off than before. You know what actually works? What actually creates lasting change? What separates the people who achieve their goals from the people who just talk about them? Discipline. But nobody wants to hear that, because discipline sounds boring. It sounds hard. It sounds like work. People want the magic pill, the secret hack, the one weird trick that makes everything easy. They want to feel inspired and then ride that inspiration to success. But that's not how it works. That's never how it's worked. Let me tell you about two guys I know. Both decided to get in shape on the same day, January 1st. Classic New Year's resolution. The first guy, Brian, was all about motivation. He watched transformation videos on YouTube, followed fitness influencers on Instagram, bought new workout clothes, downloaded 3 different fitness apps, made a playlist of pump-up songs, even bought a fancy water bottle with motivational quotes on it. He was ready, fired up, completely motivated. He crushed it for 2 weeks, hit the gym every day, eating clean, taking progress photos, posting about his journey, feeling like a beast. Then week 3 hit. He was sore, tired, work got busy. The motivation started to fade. The gym started to feel like a chore instead of an adventure. By week 4, he'd missed 3 workouts. By week 5, he'd stopped going entirely. By February, he was back to his old habits, feeling like a failure, waiting for the next wave of motivation to hit. The second guy, Marcus, yes, another Marcus, took a completely different approach. He didn't watch motivational videos, didn't follow fitness influencers, didn't buy fancy gear or post about his journey. He just made one simple rule. Go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m., no matter what. No excuses, no negotiations. Some days he felt great. Some days he felt terrible. Some days he crushed his workout. Some days he barely went through the motions. Didn't matter. He showed up. There were mornings he wanted to hit snooze so badly it hurt. Mornings where every cell in his body screamed, "Stay in bed." Mornings where he had 0 motivation, 0 energy, 0 desire to work out. He went anyway, not because he felt like it, because he'd made a commitment to himself. And discipline means keeping commitments even when they suck. A year later, Brian had tried and quit 3 more times. Each cycle: get motivated, go hard for 2 weeks, burn out, quit, feel like a failure, wait for motivation to return. He was exactly where he started, maybe even worse, because now he had all this evidence that he couldn't do it. Marcus, down 42 pounds, stronger than he'd ever been, consistent habits locked in. And here's the interesting part. He still didn't feel motivated most days. He just went anyway. That's the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Discipline says, I'll do it especially when I don't feel like it. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Motivation needs perfect conditions. Discipline creates conditions. Motivation is about starting. Discipline is about continuing. Here's what nobody tells you. Successful people aren't more motivated than you. They're more disciplined. They don't have some special gene that makes them love waking up early, eating healthy, working hard, or doing difficult things. They just have systems that override their feelings. Think about people you admire. Athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, people who've achieved things you want to achieve. Do you think they wake up every day bursting with motivation? Do you think they never feel lazy, tired, scared, or unmotivated? Of course they do. They're human. They have the same brain you do, with the same resistance to discomfort, the same desire for ease, the same temptation to quit when things get hard. The difference isn't that they feel different, it's that they act different despite feeling the same. Let me share something personal. I write every single day, have been for 6 years. Blog posts, articles, books, whatever. Every day without exception. People say, you must really love writing. You must be so inspired. It must feel amazing to be that creative. Here's the truth. Most days, I hate it. Most days, I sit down at my computer and stare at a blank screen thinking, I have nothing to say. Everything I write is garbage. Why am I even doing this? But I write anyway. Not because I feel inspired, because I made a commitment to myself and I keep it. Some days the writing is great. Most days it's mediocre. Some days it's genuinely terrible. Doesn't matter. The commitment isn't to write something great. The commitment is to write. And here's what I've learned over 6 years. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates results, and results create confidence, and confidence makes discipline easier. It's a virtuous cycle, but it starts with discipline, not motivation. Most people have it backwards. They think, once I feel motivated, I'll take action. And once I take action and see results, I'll feel confident and it'll get easier. But that almost never works because motivation is so unreliable. You're waiting for a feeling that might not come for weeks or months. And in the meantime, nothing changes. Discipline flips the script. I'll take action regardless of how I feel. And once I take consistent action, I'll see results. And once I see results, I'll feel motivated and confident. See the difference? Discipline comes first. Everything else follows. Let me tell you about a woman named Rachel. She wanted to learn Spanish, had wanted to for years, bought courses, downloaded apps, watched YouTube videos, followed Spanish-speaking influencers. Every few months, she'd get motivated. She'd spend a weekend binge learning, feeling excited about finally becoming fluent. Then motivation would fade, life would get busy, and she'd stop. This cycle repeated for literally 5 years. 5 years of wanting to learn Spanish, but never actually learning it. Then she changed her approach. She stopped waiting for motivation and made one simple rule: 15 minutes of Spanish practice every single morning before checking her phone. That's it. 15 minutes. Not when she felt like it. Not when she had time. Not when she was motivated. Every single morning, first thing, before anything else. Some days she crushed it and did 30 minutes. Most days she did exactly 15. Some days she was so tired and distracted that she barely retained anything. Didn't matter. The rule was 15 minutes. She kept the rule. 2 years later, Rachel is conversational in Spanish. Not fluent, but genuinely functional. She can have real conversations, watch shows without subtitles, travel to Spanish-speaking countries without relying on English. Did it happen because of motivation? No. It happened because of discipline. Because she showed up every single day regardless of how she felt. That's 730 days of 15-minute sessions. That's over 180 hours of practice. That's the power of small, consistent, disciplined action compounding over time. Most people overestimate what they can do with motivation and massively underestimate what they can do with discipline. Motivation gets you to start. Discipline gets you to finish. Now, here's the key question. How do you actually build discipline? Because I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but I'm just not a disciplined person. I've tried. I always quit. I don't have the willpower. First, stop that. You're not undisciplined. You just have the wrong systems. Discipline isn't a personality trait you're born with. It's a skill you develop. And like any skill, it starts small and grows with practice. Here's the framework I use. Step 1. Start absurdly small. Don't commit to working out 5 days a week if you're currently working out 0 days a week. Commit to 5 minutes, 3 days a week. So small it feels stupid. So small you can't fail. The goal isn't transformation. The goal is proving to yourself that you can keep a commitment, any commitment, because discipline is built one kept promise at a time. Step 2. Remove decisions. Discipline gets harder every time you have to make a decision. Should I work out today? Should I work out in the morning or evening? Should I do this workout or that one? Each decision is an opportunity to quit. So remove them. Make all your decisions in advance. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m., gym, same workout. No decisions, no negotiations, just automatic execution. Step 3, track your streak. Get a calendar. Put an X on every day you keep your commitment. Your only job is to not break the chain. Sounds simple, but it works. Once you have a streak going, you'll be amazed how much you don't want to break it. That streak becomes a representation of your discipline, and protecting it becomes a priority. Step 4. Expect to feel like quitting. This is crucial. Understand that feeling like quitting is normal. It's not a sign that something's wrong. It's not evidence that you're undisciplined. It's just part of the process. Discipline doesn't mean you never want to quit. It means you don't quit even when you want to. Every single person who's accomplished anything meaningful has had thousands of moments where they wanted to quit. The difference is they didn't. Step 5. Connect to identity, not outcomes. Don't focus on, I want to lose weight or I want to make more money. Focus on, I am someone who takes care of their body, or I am someone who invests in their skills. When your discipline is connected to your identity, it becomes non-negotiable. You're not forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. You're being who you are. A writer writes, an athlete trains, a professional shows up. That's just who they are, not because it's easy, because it's who they've decided to be. Let me tell you about one more person, a guy named Chris. He's 56 years old. For 30 years, he worked a corporate job he tolerated, safe, stable, soul-crushing. He always dreamed of starting his own business, always had ideas, always talked about someday. But he never took action because he was waiting for the right moment, the right idea, the right motivation. Then he turned 55, and he realized he'd been waiting for 30 years, waiting for motivation that never came, waiting for perfect conditions that didn't exist, waiting to feel ready when readiness only comes from action. So he made a decision. He didn't wait for motivation. He just started, scared, unprepared, unmotivated, but committed. He gave himself one rule: work on his business for 1 hour every evening after dinner. No exceptions. No matter how tired, no matter how busy, no matter how unmotivated. For the first 3 months, it sucked hard. He'd sit at his computer, exhausted from his day job, feeling like he was wasting time on something that would never work. But he kept the commitment, and slowly things started to happen. Not because of motivation, because of accumulated hours of disciplined effort. 12 months later, his side business was making enough money that he could quit his corporate job. 18 months later, he was making more than he ever did as an employee. 24 months later, he was living a life he'd dreamed about for 30 years. All because he stopped waiting for motivation and started showing up with discipline. So here's what I need you to understand, my friend. Your life will not change when you feel motivated. Your life will change when you become disciplined. When you show up even when you don't want to. When you keep commitments to yourself, especially when they're inconvenient. When you do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel about it. That's when transformation happens. Not in the moments of inspired action, in the boring, unglamorous, unremarkable days where you just do the work anyway. Because motivation is a visitor, it comes and goes. But discipline is who you are. And once you become a disciplined person, everything changes. Not because life gets easier, because you get stronger, strong enough to do hard things, strong enough to keep going when others quit, strong enough to build a life worth living instead of just existing through one. So make the decision right now, not tomorrow, not Monday, right now. What's one commitment you're going to make to yourself? One small, specific, non-negotiable commitment that you'll keep every single day regardless of how you feel? Write it down. Make it so small you can't fail. Then start tomorrow and show up. And show up the next day and the next. Not because you feel like it, because you're becoming someone who keeps commitments, someone who does what they say they'll do, someone who builds their life through discipline, not luck. That person, that's who you're investing in. That's the ultimate return on investment. And that person will take you places motivation never could. Conclusion: the decision that changes everything. So here we are, my friend. We've covered a lot of ground together. We talked about why you're your greatest asset, why time is your real currency, why upgrading your mind daily is non-negotiable, why protecting your health is the foundation of everything, why your network determines your net worth, why discipline beats motivation every single time. But all of that information is worthless if you don't do anything with it. Because here's the hard truth. You already knew most of this. Maybe not the specific examples or frameworks, but the core concepts. You knew them. You knew you should invest in yourself. You knew you were wasting time. You knew you should learn more, take care of your health, surround yourself with better people, and build discipline. You knew. But knowing isn't enough. It never has been. The world is full of people who know exactly what they should do, but don't do it. The gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams go to die. So the real question isn't, what should I do? You already know what you should do. The real question is, will I actually do it? Will you treat yourself like the valuable asset you are? Or will you keep neglecting your greatest investment? Will you protect your time like it's precious? Or will you keep wasting it on things that don't matter? Will you upgrade your mind daily? Or will you stay stuck in the same mental patterns that have kept you limited? Will you take care of your body? Or will you keep destroying the only vehicle you have for experiencing life? Will you build a network that elevates you? Or will you stay surrounded by people who keep you small? Will you develop discipline? Or will you keep waiting for motivation that never lasts? These aren't theoretical questions. These are the decisions that will determine what your life looks like 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now. And the decision needs to happen today, right now, this moment. Not because I'm being dramatic, because that's how change actually works. Not through gradual shifts or eventual transformations. Through decisive moments where you choose a different path. This can be that moment for you, if you let it. You can close this, go back to your regular life, and let these ideas fade into background noise like every other self-improvement content you've consumed. Most people will do exactly that. Or you can make a different choice. You can decide that you're done settling, done waiting, done accepting a version of yourself that's smaller than who you're capable of becoming. You can decide that starting today, you're treating yourself like an investment worth making, that your growth matters, that your potential deserves to be developed, that your life is worth living intentionally instead of just accidentally. The most expensive thing you'll ever own is a closed mind. The most valuable thing you'll ever invest in is an open one. Your circumstances don't define you. Your choices do. And you're making a choice right now whether you realize it or not. You're either choosing growth or choosing comfort, choosing investment or choosing neglect, choosing to become more or settling for staying the same. There's no middle ground. Time doesn't pause while you figure things out. You're either moving forward or falling behind. So what's it going to be? Because I promise you this, 1 year from now, you'll wish you started today. Don't let future you have that regret. Start now. Start small. Start messy. But start. Pick one thing from this entire conversation, just one, and commit to it for 30 days. 30 minutes of daily learning, 20 minutes of daily movement, 1 hour of focused work on a skill that matters, 15 minutes of meditation, 3 meaningful conversations with people who challenge you. One thing, 30 days, no exceptions. That's all I'm asking. Not a complete life overhaul, just one small investment in yourself, consistently applied for 30 days. And watch what happens. Watch how that one small change ripples through everything else. Watch how discipline builds momentum. Watch how investment compounds. Because investing in yourself isn't just the most profitable thing you can do. It's the only thing that actually changes your life. Everything else is just noise. So go. Make the decision. Take the action. Keep the commitment. Become the person you're capable of being. Your greatest life is waiting. But it's not coming to you. You have to go build it. One disciplined decision at a time.